Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about how to troubleshoot a 4x4 system on a 94 to 01 Dodge Ram. There were a couple changes there for the newer trucks, but for here we're just talking about the older second gens like I mentioned. This is a 94 truck, a 99 Dodge Ram. This is a buddy's truck and he lost 4x4. So we're just going to do a little bit of testing as far as how to diagnose the issue. First of all, you're going to obviously put the truck into 4x4. And then you're going to drive it around a bit and make sure to swerve from side to side, maybe 100 feet or more. And you're going to watch for if that light goes on. I don't know actually where the 4x4 light is on a 99 here. I'm used to the older ones. But watch for if that light goes on. If that light does not go on, it's very likely to be your center axle disconnect that is acting up. The switch that turns on the light is mounted onto the center axle disconnect. So if it's not doing its job, then it won't turn on the light. So that's a good warning. I can actually turn it on. I could turn on the key, but I'm not going to because it's the sound of a lift pump there and it's just kind of loud. So we're going to go outside and try to troubleshoot this system. So first thing we're going to check is to make sure that the front axle is fully connected on both ends, nothing weird there, and that both U-joints on the axles are both in good shape, which for us is the case. Then we're going to look at the center axle disconnect, and that's located here on the passenger side of the axle. And what that is basically there's a little vacuum actuator in there, and it has two vacuum lines going to it. And there's a switch, a vacuum switch, mounted to the transfer case that switches the vacuum from one line to the other, and that makes an actuator lock and unlock the axle. And that's the sole purpose of that, is to prevent the front drive shaft from spinning while on the highway. With the truck running and in 4x4 is we just hook up a vacuum gauge to some of these lines to make sure we're getting vacuum. Now you can see that there's two lines here. One is red and one is black. And the red one gets vacuum in two-wheel drive mode and the black one gets vacuum in four-wheel drive mode. You can remember that because if you are in two-wheel drive and so the red one's getting vacuum, you're not going to go anywhere. Red is stop. So just a little trick to try to remember which one's which while under the truck without having to snap out your phone or something in order to remember. So you can hook up a vacuum gauge, but we already know that there's no vacuum there. I already tested that, so I don't have to turn on the truck for you. So what we're going to do is we're just going to just pull out this vacuum line like here. Now we're going to actually pull out both of them. Remember which one's which. The black one goes towards the driver's side like that. We're going to pull out the vacuum line and we're just going to put on this chunk of vacuum hose. Okay, there. Now, we know that this guy is not getting vacuum, so that means that there must be either a break in the line or there's a leak somewhere causing there to be no vacuum left for this line. So what we can do is, you could hook this up to the other end to a vacuum pump or even an air pump or something just to get a little airflow going, but that makes a lot of noise. So if we just take it and we just blow in it, the leak will make a noise, and in this case, we can hear it actually up here. You may be able to hear that. I'll bring you a little closer there. I don't know how well you can see that, but we're going to just look underneath this insulation. Oh, and look at that, right there. That white line there, which is the feed for the vacuum switch mounted on top of the transfer case, is cut or cracked. So what we can just do there is we can just take a piece of vacuum line, cut it, and cut this line here, take a piece of vacuum tubing, slice it over either end, and it's patched. You could also use a chunk of heat shrink tubing to just repair it if you wanted to slide it on all the end. This guy's cut enough that I'm just going to slice a piece of vacuum tubing in there. So we're just going to take our rusty but trusty knife, cut the vacuum line, right like that, hardly anything holding it on, slide our chunk of vacuum tubing over top one end, slide it on. If you want to make sure you get it on nice and good, you could just throw a little oil or a grease on there just to make sure it's fully on and you can slide on plenty. We're going to do like this. A Vaseline or something would be preferable, something that doesn't have any kind of nasty stuff in it. But this is sliding on nicely. So we just slide that on. And there's our patched vacuum tubing. Now, at some point we will likely just swap out the whole line, because if it cracked like that, then that means it's fairly brittle and it'll crack in the future. But this should get them back on the road again until we can do it properly. So put it back into the insulation, slide it back into the holder, and there we go. Really simple, really fast. So now just make sure to put those vacuum lines back on, make sure everything else is good, and then we can start up the truck and make sure it has 4x4. So now if we start this truck up, we should have 4x4. Obviously it does take vacuum in order to lock that little dude down there, so we won't actually have 4x4 until it's started up. There's that lift pump I was talking about. Waiting for the 4x4 light. There it is. 4x4 light just came on, and it comes off and goes back on. Sometimes you do need to drive it around a little bit, swerve from side to side to get it to come on, because there's some splines in there that are connected to either axle, and so they have to line up so a collar can slip over top. So if you're driving straight, then both splines are rotating at the same speed. So if they're not lined up, they're not going to line up until you start to turn slightly or hit a bump or something to make one tire rotate slightly faster than the other. So there you go. In 5 minutes, we got this truck fixed and ready to go. So, I mean, you can't beat it. It's a crude technique, but it works extremely well. So remember, make sure to have a truck in 4x4 and to be testing the black line, as that is the one that gives you 4x4. So take care. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think. I love hearing from you guys. And remember, keep wrenching.